Hello and welcome to the dungeons. Dayman here. Today I am in the dungeons with AcekingVr. If you've not seen him, you can find him here on the leaderboards with dungeons completed. Third of the world right now. Right down here we've got Pinocchio also featured on the channel. We're going to be talking about what it means to gain those levels early on and how to find utility even when you are of a lower level. Unfortunately, Aceking and I are having a bit of a difficult time getting his voice in on the video. If you have any tips on how to correct that issue, leave it in the comments. I'll be very happy to see. But whenever you're wanting to gain levels quickly, I've discussed this briefly in the former Zero to Hero feature, but you want to be finding short rooms that are quite linear, about 5 rooms each, and it takes time to learn how each room works, but the more you run a dungeon, the more you learn where the key drops are, which will all be randomized. And the reason that we're doing these shorter dungeons is because it's all about time saved in the dungeons to get to those early levels that allow you to unlock those exos. And once you have those exos, it'll be much easier to run the more difficult dungeons. Now, Ace and I were talking about the fact that speed leveling has kind of gotten a poor reputation for the fact that it doesn't quite allow you to, develop those dungeoning skills. But it's all about experience, and when you're low enough level where you don't yet have those options to fight against more powerful enemies, these dungeons are great because, as you can see, we're running, oopsies, I'm on the table. We're running this at Tier 1, and Tier 1 is going to give you the same amount of experience that a Tier 7 will. And we'll go into more considerations once we get in there, into the dungeon, that is. So remember I mentioned make a mental map of your dungeon so that you can more easily run through it without having to find the map. But if you're running large dungeons, that map is far more useful. So here what we're doing is bypassing the enemies, grabbing any keys that we can find. I have the key here. So by bypassing enemies, we don't have to worry about big fights. Is this the room? Second room. So it takes time to learn each dungeon. This is a trap room, so you have to be careful. That's why we use teleport to prevent ourselves from getting crushed. And there's always a key inside of this room. So like I said, the more you play a dungeon, the more you will learn about the locations of keys. Sometimes there's one on the shelf or around this corner here. And by opening more chests, you get more experience. And you see, even though I'm a lower level, I don't necessarily have to worry about taking huge hits against these enemies, as I can simply teleport around. Now, it does help to have higher level allies with you, as it's going to take us a lot harder time to take these guys out by ourselves. Another consideration is when you are doing these speed leveling dungeons, the fewer allies you have, about 2 to 3 is recommended, so that you don't have to deal with a bunch of enemies all at once. Also, a map can only house a certain number of enemies at a time. So sometimes clearing them out will be necessary if you do have 4 people in a dungeon with you. Did I miss any points on that, Ace King? Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, so Ace King suggests that at lower levels you might actually get a more experience by running dungeons beyond the recommended tier. So if you are running a tier 7 at lower levels, you may in fact be getting more experience. Here's a different dungeon that we'll be running, and you can see again that even though it seems a bit longer, we've learned the path through the dungeon. This is why the more you run a dungeon, the more you actually learn the most efficient paths. And what I like about this one, the base experience is a little bit higher at the 3,000, and Ace King has a really cool feature to show us with the shield. Now, I know I've kind of shorted the mythical spear, saying that it was one of the worst mythical weapons. The shield is one of the worst mythical weapons that you can pick up. Not to say that any of them are bad, but he's discovered a niche to where this weapon is extremely useful, where we are now running into the sandstorm biome. Once again, we can find our keys located in one of two spots. Collecting gold will help with, gaining more experience, as well as destroying objects. So if you are wanting to gain more experience, collect gold and destroy objects along your adventure. And see, the reason we... Yeah, and Ace King does recommend bypassing those sorts of things. Now, what's nice is by using teleport. Yeah, even the fighting should be bypassed if you can help it. But if you can, collect some gold. It's going to help you earlier on in your levels. So check this out. With this, when he fully charges his shield, and he can throw it at a wasp-type enemy. That was a boss wasp. Granted, this is tier 1, but so finding use in this weapon, it seems to do more significant damage to these flying-type enemies, despite having a bit of a difficult time hitting certain flying-type enemies. Which, even though there isn't a listed damage on the shield, they seem to be doing significant damage to it, which I think is honestly a really cool feature, especially for I know how much many players despise the wasp-type enemy. And there is notable damage that is on many types of enemies as suggested, which the developers are looking at these mythical weapons and updating them. They've already updated the crossbow, so who's to say they haven't updated the shield damage, which I would be happy to see, as I know I wanted a shield myself. And just like that, I've gotten myself to level 8. And at level 8, that's when you can start to unlock those more pertinent exo points as we discussed in the previous video. Also, another important note is, even though at lower levels we want to be collecting all the loot that we can from the chests, you don't even need to collect the loot in order to get the experience for the full team. As if Ace King were just to run and collect those chests and I were to run to the end, then I would still get the same amount of experience at the end, right? Yeah, so that's the other thing too. Yeah, you won't always get the item, but after having run those dungeons, I should have a little bit more gold. Probably not enough gold to come down here and buy something from the armorer, but we're going to talk about the more notable, let's see, 4,000 gold. That's better than 0. And that is enough to start helping me buy weapons that are going to assist you at the lower tiers. I enjoy the bow, but it takes time to get used to how to use a bow. One of the better back weapons at those lower tiers are going to be javelins, as they are good at thrown damage, as well as having the option to have explosions, which can increase the amount of damage you can do in a radius. Alright. Ace King, do you have any favorite weapons? It's actually a really great point. If you are using teleport, as we are suggesting at these lower levels, it's a little bit harder to get used to teleporting with the bow, but teleporting with a crossbow is a lot easier and more efficient. That's true. So, but, oh yeah. And I would recommend, if you are new to this game, don't just purely rely on solo leveling. Another thing, or speed leveling rather, you want to be able to practice what it feels like to actually get into a fight with a dungeon and fighting against multiple enemies. So that's something worth practicing, and we'll be discussing that and maybe in some power leveling videos coming up. But I want to briefly discuss what it means to prestige, because here we are talking about leveling up through this game. The end result to leveling is prestiging. I have prestige twice, meaning I can have up to 2 mythical weapons, but Ace King has prestige 3 times, and he's fully kitted out right now. 5 times, because he's left with 300 right now. So he's picked up the shield, crossbow, hammer, and dagger. And I know he's mentioned to me that the hammer has been a standout weapon, as well as the crossbow. Daggers being able to auto-target has been pretty great. So these are the most powerful weapons that you can acquire in the game, and they are possible by prestiging. And double prestiging or re-prestiging means that you can come up to this comms tower. I have some videos on these as well. Check it out if you're curious what these weapons do. But if you come up here, it'll tell you how much gold is required and the level that is required to be promoted to a mythical weapon. And you also get this really cool armor type. If you've seen Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, very Revan. Well, thank you, Ace King. I wish we had your voice in the video. Watch this be a video that was fixed and your voice is in here the whole time and I've been repeating you. Right? Peace. All right. With that, remember, disinfect your face mask and wash your face. Ace King and Dayman out. Peace.